Oh, do I need hypo juice? No. Oh. All aboard. What are we doing? What are we doing? The steward's report. Steward's report. G'day, mate. Steward's report. Did we miss anything? Has the sneaky hangover gone away? There's a winning hangover. Like, back straight back at the next day. Well, thanks, Nikki. Good. How are you? Wasn't much in the steward's report. I do want to open with something funny. Glenn Pollitt.
We've had for most of the racing over the last.
Is that coming through? Yeah. Oh, I love Mark Lambourne, and I hate fast forwarding him. But just go to a minute 28, and this is some of Glenn Pollitt's best work ever.
Yeah. Oh, they must have mentioned it.
Well, a bit earlier.
Anywhere, heard it, no fucking script.
Oh, here we go.
What the fuck does that mean? Yeah. Well, they're just playing victims, aren't they? Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. What the fuck does that mean? They're playing victims. What do you mean? Well, let's put it in context. The context is the track was a fucking disgrace, and you've heard it nowhere on any channel or anywhere. Oh, they must have mentioned it. No one mentions it. It's like the footy now. No one even talks about the rep because the bloke in charge of both sports is fucking PVL. Has got that much power that if you fart in one of the hallways of anywhere he works, you are fucking gone. And that's the way racing and football become. You can't even talk about the refs in football, which is just so wrong. I mean, this is Australia, for fuck's sake. That track on Saturday was a fucking disgrace. And did you guys
Glenn Pollitt
go, oh, that's just the way it is? Cunts fucking prepare their horses 6 months out for $2 million races and had no hope. That's the truth. But you don't hear one trainer blow up or anything. No one says a fucking word. We live in Canary Land and drop little pooplets everywhere. It's just outrageous.
About what, Schnecky? About which part? Because I've got to be very careful. I've got to be very careful. I've got to be very careful, but that's some of his best work. We'll talk about the track. The track itself was extraordinarily biased, and trying to work out how you can go from, I understand the rail moves, right? But you go from a true rail to where they needed to be 8 to 12 off the inside last week to a 3 metre rail where 8 to 12 off was pretty much no good this week. How's that possible? And it's not as if they were racing in those lanes. There was a fake rail, running rail there last week. It was just you could not be up the inside. You had to be, down that middle section. And then this week it's completely cast. They say there was no irrigation. It's hard to believe, isn't it? You could the week before. You literally could last week. Well, they didn't irrigate because they didn't need to, really. There was supposed to be rain. I think they put a little bit of water on, but nothing significant. I think, 3 mils or something. But, yeah, I did laugh. King's tweet made me laugh where he said, last week, Waller, Lady Shenandoah drew 11, tracked down the outside. This week they draw 1, 2, 3, and they all up the inside. I did laugh at that. As staunch as my tin hat is, it's pretty hard to rig a gold slipper draw, but the streaker, I think he was doing something. He came in late. Mate, there's just a snippet. Mark said basically that that everyone's playing the victim, I think. I'll play it again just because it's so good.
Rosehill on Saturday to the week before. The speeds well, pretty much in line with track speeds we've had for most of the racing over the last however long. 3.8, these are on official times, 3.8 for the sprint course and 4.7 for the circle. But, Gord, what did you make of this track on Saturday?
Yeah, well, I think everybody spotted it, didn't they? Because during the program, guys who, aren't like they're racing but aren't professional, even they were texting me like, what's going on with this track? And I was like, you know what I mean? They were really disappointed about it. And I just let them know. I said, well, it creates betting opportunities. So I don't whinge about the fact that obviously there's a big bias towards fencing run, and other than that, being on papers and things as well. Just adjust and see if you can make some money out of it.
I've got to listen to Glenn again. I can't stop it.
I understand purists getting upset with...
Well, they're just playing victims, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. What the fuck does that mean they're playing victims? What do you mean? Well, let's put it in context. The context is the track was a fucking disgrace, and you've heard it nowhere on any channel or anywhere. Oh, they must have mentioned it. No one mentions it. It's like the footy now. No one even talks about the rep because the bloke in charge of both sports is fucking PVL. It's got that much power.
I'll stop it. He's the best. He's the best. Yeah, the track was obviously not ideal and was significantly biased. It was probably significantly more biased this week than last week. And that's probably it's magnified by the fact of what Nicky says to a certain degree, that it is the profile of the circuit makes it hard to come from back at wide at the best of times. So when the inside's a better place to be, it makes it nearly impossible. So, g'day March here. TX. So it's a good meeting to review. I honestly haven't been through it yet. I've been flat out, so I'm looking for it again for the first time here. I've just got times and the sort of sectional rankings and stuff through. So I'm going through it again for the first time too, looking for what everyone's looking for. So, well, I think the Valley's an even worse issue. I think they've absolutely butchered the surface there. I think they've like sandblasted or something. They've done something to the root structure there, and it was completely terrible. So it's even worse, the situation. Yeah, that's true, Paul, but it is true that a lot of them don't know, but it's also true that that's the case. So it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? It's it's not good for anyone. It's not good. It's more, I care more about the trainers and owners, to be fair, than punters, because punters don't have to bet. They can wait, they can do those things. Obviously, it's not ideal, but when we're sort of used to it. But whereas Moonee Valley, it sounds like they've done a number on the actual surface and the root structure, which means it's nearly impossible to bet. The fence obviously started to look incredible, and could be any number of reasons for that. And it was those shifty surfaces where horses lose their confidence. Are just diabolical, because even wet trackers don't handle those surfaces. Sometimes they can find a patch of sandy loose ground and just lose all confidence, or they can not travel in it. It's just completely different to wet ground. It's not actually, it's extraordinarily hard to describe. It's nearly impossible to bet into, and I think for the main part, that's why it looks so leaderish, is because it's so hard to keep your footing and accelerate on that sort of ground. So yeah, Moonee Valley, and I know I bitch a lot about Victoria versus New South Wales, all that just jokingly, but yeah, I think the surface at Moonee Valley was horrible. The track, the way it was presented at Rosehill, was extraordinarily biased, but the surface itself is obviously very good. You've got, they're adjusting it week to week, and it's like that. Marty Sheen retired in January from Moonee Valley for a job. Yeah, I heard that. And that's true too. They are digging it up, but it's still not good for coming meetings. It sounds like they've made a big error there. It's like coring the greens if you're a golfer and trying to play on cored greens with sand on it. It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen, and that's pretty much the same for a horse. You don't really want to run a horse over a freshly cored or where they've sort of cut through the root system, cleaned it out, because it's quite loose underneath, and big horse running full tilt, not ideal. Not ideal. Anyhow, all right, let's get into it. Race 1, Midway, won't spend much time on this. They go pretty hard early. Inferencia goes pretty hard early, then slows it right up to the 800, so gets a breather big time from the 8 to the 6, and then holds on. Time overall's poor. The race overall's very average. Add into that the runners that finish in the placings all come up the inside here at big prices. They're not bad horses, but they didn't look suited in this race, and they're obviously flattered. So, yeah, this race has pretty much put it in the bin as far as I'm concerned. I'd rather be negative than positive about it. I'd rather be negative and positive than runners coming out of it, and you're obviously going to be neutral about horses that were in the quicksand, I guess we'll call it. Navesh is in Sydney. He's the betting manager for Sydney. The betting manager. Work that one out. So Inferencia was probably a slight adjustment to a few people's maps. Has shown speed over the period, and this trainer doesn't mind sending to the front as a rule, which I don't mind. Collett goes a little bit quick early, horse gets keen, but as I said, sort of between the 8 and the 6 here, he gets this huge breather, and these horses travelling wide, as we worked out later in the day, not many horses could do it. Basically only Fangirl and Briasa went like an absolute rocket, but even when they're slowing down here, it was very hard to do much. Pausing the tape, winner. Second, was it? Twin Turbo second. Third. Fourth. No. Unlucky. Should have nearly been in the finish. And fourth. The other thing I've heard a lot, like even just listening to Gordo there, he said it was an on-pace bias. It wasn't an on-pace bias. It was literally a fence bias. As this horse runs third. Second. Should have nearly won. It was definitely an inside bias. It wasn't so much on speed. As we sort of talked, the track profile lends itself to on-speed horses, and there were a few races that were run at soft tempo, so it's going to be hard to run on, but the inside was just significantly quicker than, lanes. I'll have a look I don't think the lanes are thrown up yet, but yeah. Don't tell jokes, Paul. This is not a place for jokes. We don't tell jokes here. Yeah, Navesh is one of the most overrated track managers in the history of racing from an outsider looking in. So Jamira was obviously unlucky, completely forgiving of horses like Hinch and Jive down the outside here. I think Irish Bliss sat wide. Rush Attack, It's a Wonder will drive you mad, so I'd never forgive it. But these horses that are on the inside in the right part of the track, I think you're okay to be harsh on them because, arguably quite a few runners should have finished closer. The race overall doesn't do anything time-wise. It's a complete bin race. You're not going to be positive about any horse in this race, I don't think. And, you're forgiving to horses like My Fair Lady and horses that came to the outside here, but not positive. Big difference. Mr. Virgin. Hope you're right. Race 2, Epona Stakes. So this is a good race. A really good ride on the winner. The second horse, Sounds of Heaven, was back like there was no settling and looked like it was home for your life there at one point. But Merrimount Buller has been flying. It was a bit of an issue worrying about where it was going to get to, sort of from a middle draw. Was it going to be forced to the outside and have to make a run wide? And Zach Lloyd rides the horse really well. Sounds of Heaven, no real knock. Be Real was good again. Barchio Del Mis comes down the outside. The tempo is very strong early. It backs off a little bit to the from the 8 to the 6, but they've already done the damage there, and they actually come home quite quick for some fast overall time. So the race itself looks very strong. Where they go from here, I'm not sure, but this form should hold up.
Twin Turbo and Highborn Harry. There's the light. We're ready now. Race 2 here at Rosehill.
Yeah, Jay Collett. And you don't say, I still say he's one of the best horses, best riders of leaders around. He just doesn't do it. So he goes to the is this it here? Which one's hinged? White cap and black cap. I'm not sure. I haven't watched the replay, so I'm learning with everyone here. I'm not sure which one's hinged and which one's Mayor of Mount Buller. Number 7 is Mayor of Mount Buller, so it's back on the inside. So he's done a good job from the start to go straight to the fence. Zach. Sounds of Heaven's obviously in the absolute right place. Brigidine Galba on its back, absolute right place. Mayor of Mount Buller, absolute right place in run. So again, we got fence 1, 2, 3 in run. Be Real 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 in run. Nowhere near the speed. Making ground from back, but you just could not make ground out wide. Not rocket science. This horse is flying, Barchio Dill missed. So it looks home here, Sounds of Heaven, but he actually picks it up pretty easy in the end, Mayor of Mount Buller. The horse is absolutely airborne. This horse was only second up, Be Real. Probably runs even further, and this horse is just dead set flying, Barchio Del Mist. Arguably the run of the race, apart from the winner. I think it was a deserved winner, even though it was very well ridden, but it never got near the fence in run or down the straight. It was, arguably the run of the race and has been probably nearly every start and excels on soft ground. So, yeah, it's a horse that flies under the radar, and even though the stable's flying, you couldn't, if it can find the right race again, very, 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 very dangerous in whatever it sort of lines up in at the moment, especially if it gets a little bit of soft ground and a track where you can run on a bit, because it is one-dimensional. Sounds of Heaven, a much better run, probably peaks next time out. Brigidine Gal, I think that's what you see is what you get there. That's as good as she goes. She needs everything to go away to win in this grade, I think, and we should have said Be Real, peak next time out. Hinged is hinged, doing hinged things. It's a knockout, was very, very plain, I thought, quite one-paced, even though it sort of got in an awkward spot there at one stage. It was very average and no real excuses for the rest. No, and it was getting to 1900 pretty quick, but it looked like it needed it, and it looks like it wants 3000 off the back of that. So, yeah, I think it's one to not forget, but I'm happy to let it beat me at this stage. Following Be Real, yes, for sure, in the right race. It would have to need it's a run behind these horses, so it could definitely improve past them. But whether it's got the quality of Mount Buller or not, I don't think there's much between them. But I still probably lean to Mount Buller. But yeah, definitely ready to win a race next time out. Every horse needs to find the right race, and especially horses like Be Real, who is a little one-dimensional too. Like, is it probably midfield at best horse closer? So they usually need to find the right race, no matter how well they're going. The Manion, geez, this horse went well on the clock. Sets a solid tempo throughout, right from the get-go, basically, and then ramps it right up the last 600 and runs really good time. These are the sort of horses that are going to be difficult to line up, because obviously the horse is in the right part of the track, but it has done a lot. It's set a solid tempo and backed it up and then put them away and held the margin. So yeah, it's not hard to find. I think it's into favour for the Sydney Cup. There's not going to be a huge betting advantage in backing this horse wherever it goes, Alicante, but it's certainly done a really good job here. And Strathtay was just huge, I thought. Huge. Its last couple of runs, it's been sort of underrated. I think the horse is absolutely airborne. Back in the pack, just looking at sort of sectional breakdowns, our old friend Manzois runs the fastest 800 to the 200 of the day in this race. Valiant King runs the 6th fastest last 800 to 200. So there's a few sort of runs in the middle of the pack or back of the pack, and where they've knocked up, they might be ready to do something later on. We'll have a look at them. Mr. Waterville wasn't a bad run by the look of it as well. Back in the pack a little bit. So watch the replay. Yeah, old Coco Beware. They keep finding harder races for him, and he starts short every time. It's very weird. I backed him first up. And haven't touched him since, but he looked the winner here and just didn't run the trip. So I think the stable just don't really know what he is. It was just a heck of a... What about the ride when he lands 1-1 and you're like, oh no. Oh no, what have they done? When they back horses from that camp and you can't really understand it, and then they land these positions that you couldn't have possibly had them in before the race, oh my God, you have a heart attack in the run basically. But yeah, the horse got running a little bit for Timmy here. I don't think he intended to go as fast as he did, and no, I'm just chatting to him about the horse afterwards. He's the one thing he said he'll do is stay. It'll just keep going. So looks like it's definitely suited by something like the Sydney Cup for sure. Looks like it's going to be a decent race too this year, which is good. Competitive race is probably the best way to put it. Not much happens here. Manzois is back last. Mr. Waterville's back on the inside. Who's the other horse? Valiant King. I think it's 3 wide, isn't it? On the back of Francesco Guardi, who sits wide the trip. I don't think it went poorly. I just don't think it ran the distance, and it's outclassed. It was heavily... I think it was poorly in weight-wise. I'd have to have another look. Athabaskan continues to race very credibly, very consistently. I think a lot of people found it on Saturday off the back of a couple of unlucky runs, and again, you know, he's off the bit early here, but chases hard. The win is just different gravy by the look of it. So those horses that ran the fast sections, again, like just reviewing the meeting and talking about it as we're watching it, they both came up the fast section of the track. So to me, that takes huge merit out of their 800 to 200 sections. If they were running that really fast 800 to 200 in the wrong part of the track and then knocked up late, to me, that would give it a lot more credit than making up ground up the inside when the other runners are getting off the inside. Even though they've done something, it's certainly not as credible as if they did it in the wrong part of the track. So, you know, a horse like maybe Valiant King is a better run to me than and worth keeping an eye on than Mr. Waterville and Manzois. Yeah, Strathay's huge. I've always thought he's a really underrated horse. I'd love to see him get a rider. And I think he's a horse that can really take up a spot if he draws a gate. He's the horse that, you know, McDonald could go on and put 2 or 3 lengths on the horse very, very easily. You can see here he's just in the wrong spot. Even his fencing run, he's in the wrong spot and sort of struggling to get going, and eventually gets to the outside. So again, he's in the right part of the track for the majority of the race, but he does a really good job to close off late where there others aren't. So, you know, I think he's going very well. Yeah, I don't think Waller will be saying Sydney Cup now for Birdman. He was very one-paced home, but I don't think he'd get in the race. He's like an 82 rater or something, isn't he? He's not. He's got a very low benchmark. He won't get near making it into a Sydney Cup field. Unless there's something I'm missing there. All right, Derby Munro. Probably warning bells were going off here for Autumn Globe punters, and it looked like at one point that the betting said that this horse was going to get out quite significantly, and it was a little bit scary for, like, I was balls deep, for want of a better term, in multis and sort of trying to set the day up through this horse. Had some bets from the Friday and Thursday into it, and Wednesday, sort of trying to set up the meeting. So, you know, you were a little concerned if she wasn't able to hold the spot, and J-Mac just took that completely out of the equation. They run along at a very even tempo the whole way. They run good time overall. So there was no slacking here. And she's ridden what you would say is out of her comfort zone. Probably not completely upside down, because she's not completely devoid of speed at all, but ridden aggressively out of her comfort zone first up, and they've gone well, and she's just too good. She again continues to just get stronger through the line. Sort of 19th fastest last 400, 13th fastest last 200 of the day. Clearly the fastest last 200 of the day in this race. And yeah, the only way's up for this horse. She's a genuine star in my eyes. Just sort of answering someone on Twitter before I went on air here saying that doesn't get it. He's not a big fan, and that's the beauty of racing, isn't it? That not everyone sees racing differently. And I even had sort of people asking me on Saturday morning, why is this horse so short? Again, after the race, everyone's a genius, but she just bullies this lot, and I thought that was always going to be the case unless something was wrong with her. She just looked better than them. She looked like she was going to be behind horses like Gangster Granny in the run. Good ride from Sergeant Major, from Jamie to get it as close as she did. But once she landed sort of on pace, you would have loved her to have a bit of cover, but you just didn't want her to be held up, and that was probably the only worry with her getting beat here, is if she had an issue or she got held up. So he takes all of that out of the equation. She's got arguably the toughest run on speed, so she's one off, chasing tempo, no cover. Loose leader with Enrich behind it, so he gets a bit of cover. He's in the better part of the track. She doesn't. If she's left fat-footed, you can see it's still travelling here, Enriched, and she's off the bit, but she never looks like she's never really going to really mid at any stage. And as the race goes on, she only gets stronger. I think, James, that is a very, very, very good question. Yeah, it's a genuine question. It's a genuine question to be asked. It is definitely, she's been asked to do something first up, even though she's had 3 trials and a long grounding going into this. She's been asked to do something first up here that would have taken her out of her comfort zone, but look, she's just a tank. Look at her through the line. She's running away from him still. He's pricked, yeah. I think they'll be very careful, this horse, placing this horse. 3 weeks, 4 weeks between runs, even if they give her another trial or something like that. I don't know what the plan is, where she goes to in 2 weeks. I'd be a little bit hesitant if she went to sort of 1400 second up 2 weeks from now, from Saturday. I'd be hesitant to be super keen on her, but you look at what Waller horses also do on grand final days. Not many of them hit the brick wall, do they? So, I think if she shows up, you can trust that she's going to run very well. But it does have to be in the back of your mind, because off this setup, as a rule, it's tricky to back this sort of win up fresh for sure. There wasn't much behind. I didn't think Alabama State went all right, but it was in the right part of the track. Not really too many forgives that you're too concerned about looking at. She was just the star there. Gangster Granny was okay. Huge class rising. Rich was good again. It was good the other day up on the inside. Sergeant Major was good again. Flying for Fun was obviously ridden better this time and was in the right part of the track. It could always improve, and did so, even though it was beaten a long way and the rest had beaten a long way. I didn't think there was much there. Just have one more look at horses that got cast wide, or what part of their prep they were in. So nothing really, is there? Steel Strike gets caught back and wide. It was only first up, but yeah, they're beaten a long way. Arrowfield next run then, Paddy. Yeah, so they'll be trying to win that. Arrowfield don't go there. Well, that makes sense. Second up 1200's interesting, but I assume they'll just keep it super fresh. And 1200 at Randwick, much more suitable. Yeah, and that's what I love about her, Nikki. She just keeps winding up. It's the best way to say it. And that's what the best horses, in my opinion, do. They get to their top, but they can sustain it, and that's where that's why they're better than other horses. It doesn't matter whether it's sort of takeover target to a certain degree. Black Caviar, Winks, Maccabi Diva, or friggin' who can you think of? So many good horses over the period. They can get to their top and sustain it. It's so hard to have a short dash or not have strength on your side, and to make it right through the grades and be dominant. And she's just got this, at the moment, untapped strength where she's just strong and dominant at the end of all of her races. And And, you know, I'm excited to see where she ends up. Yeah, interesting. 900,000, 50,000 and 30 metre trial, 1,200 first up, going to another 1,200 next start. That will be a challenge, but she's just so strong, and I don't know what sort of field will end up in an arrow field. I wouldn't imagine it'll be super strong. Yeah, Incentivize was an interesting horse too. Yeah, like it definitely had gears. Horse like Maldivian, the same. Probably didn't win as many in a row as the other horse we've talked about, but it definitely strength to me is the key attribute to a champion, if that's what you want to call them. A dominant horse. Bit of a nothing race, this race, which was fully expected. Go out slow down from the 8 to the 6, so no pressure whatsoever. Zip home, time overall is okay, especially off the back of a very slow tempo. So not much to learn here, apart from the fact that sort of the imports didn't do a lot. The Equicast going on. Haggis's horse was a big issue, Al Mubhia. I thought that was a big warning sign, putting the old Equicast on, that it maybe hadn't acclimatised here, was having trouble with our track. So it was easy to oppose. Full Count Felicia was a little bit dangerous off its racing pattern and, you know, where it was going to be here, its form, but it went okay, I guess, past mark beaten 5 lengths, and the two horses that are trained here that were absolutely flying in Lindemann and Faulkner Park, who's probably ridden, you know, to a disadvantage here, ran well again, but they're just sort of maintaining their form, and they're on track for a race where they don't run into a Via Sistina. So he actually gets a decent run through on Faulkner Park by the end of it, but you think they could find better races for Golden Path to run in, but she's won 7 Group 1s in Australia. That's unbelievable. I didn't know that. Feels like she's been here for 5 minutes. 7 Group 1s in Australia. It's actually ridiculous. That's stupid. So yeah, she's on track. Lindemann's on track. Faulkner Park's on track. I'm sure Golden Path's on track for something a little bit easier. I don't think we need to spend much more time there. Messy race, this one. Rosehill Guineas, they sort of go along a sort of even tempo, then they really slow up from the 8 to the 6. And then they come home pretty quick. Time overall's just below standard, length and a half below standard off a slow tempo. So I'd say it's sort of an even-ish race quality to what you'd expect or hope for, but the race itself is quite messy. What have we got? Fastest last 800 of the day. 8 to the 6. Fastest last 8 to the 6 is Swift Falcon with that fast early move. 5th fastest 8 to the 200 of the day. Swift Falcon. So it's done a really good job. 4th fastest last 200 of the day in Aliana, who's ripped home. Desperately unlucky. Cost me $1 bazillion, but I'm definitely not going to whinge after a few went my way as well. But yeah, definitely a good thing beaten. I'd say Aliana. I've only seen the start once or twice, so I'm keen to watch the first half of this race again. So he's sort of caught into mines here on broadsiding, which is understandable. The map always looked very tricky. I don't know whether Jamie sort of... She said the horse went too keen in front. I think she went too slow. I would have loved her to sort of roll along a bit more, and I don't know if the horse just didn't get breathing and got choked down, but I think they sort of, going so slow early, played into the hands a little bit of broadsiding. He's very lucky the way it unfolds. When they drop anchor here, she's just going too slow, and broadsiding gets up here, and then now he gets cover from Lamming's horse. So bit of an act of God ride from J-Mac, but you know, he does it over and again. So you don't, oh, look at that little hip and shoulder to Majorca Sunset on the way past. Yeah, he you get lucky over and again. Sometimes you got to say it's not luck, right? But ends up with the run of the race for the majority of the race in the period that he's working hard to get to outside the leader. They're not going fast. He does have more tactical speed than your Alianas and Swift Falcon, so you've got to say he's always got that tick in the box compared to them. But the rider's just... I think the rider wins on Aliana. I think the rider nearly wins on Swift Falcon. Is this a good move from Tyler? I got to say yes, because I think he's done it in a spot where they're slowing down and he's made up a lot of ground without expending a lot of energy. So I've got to say that Tyler's ride's exceptional from where from where he was at the time, you know, where his best chance was to do what he did. He was basically in limbo, and he made an educated guess. Collett back in here on Aliana, very unlucky. Plymouth, a little bit unlucky. It's sort of getting out, but sort of pops out late. They are sprinting home very sharply, and you know the funny part is this is Majorca Sunset, who was getting beaten in maidens at Warwick Farm 2 starts ago. I backed this horse to win at an hour a maiden a couple of starts ago. So the tempo's really bunched the margins up here, but the big guns are up at the front, I think, definitely. Like talking about going to derbies and things like that. It was quite interesting to hear post-race a lot of people saying Swift Falcon looking for the 2,400 metres of the derby quite potentially. I thought Plymouth was really good there. But Tyler Schiller, straight after the race, coming and saying, I don't think he runs the 2,000 out. He gives himself up so often talking about tempo of races and the runs of his horses, I believe. And, you know, it's nearly impossible for a horse to sustain an 800-metre, 1,000-metre gallop when you're sprinting this hard at any level, and especially at this sort of level. And this horse has not shirked the task. Like, it runs 2,000 out for sure. Is it super dangerous back to the mile, and is he desperate for it to go to the Doncaster? Potentially. And that's why he's talking the way he is after the race, because that's where he wants to see the horse go, and that's fine. But I definitely don't have an issue with this horse running 2,000 metres out at all, and Aliana definitely not, and the winner certainly, you know, runs the 2,000 out as well. Plymouth is very interesting going up to 2,400. I'm very interested in it going to the Derby. I don't know whether she'll go to the Oaks or Derby, Aliana, or whether she'll go to the Vinery. And what have they said with broadsiding? Why, James? Why did you not? I thought his run was exceptional, Swift Falcon. I honestly thought it was huge. You know, he's definitely got to turn a foot. And so many horses have completed that 2,000 back to a mile. You know, your Desert Wars. And if he's got no weight in a Doncaster, I think he's got 51 or something like that, and he draws a gate. I think they can definitely settle a little bit closer, and I think he can bully a field a little bit more in a Doncaster with that sort of weight. I really think he's right in the race, but it is a very solid Doncaster this year, potentially. She's gone huge, hasn't she? Look at her past the post. Like, is he the best horse in the race? Maybe by a short half head, but there's not a lot between these three horses. And, you know, got out to 2-1, which made a lot of sense on Saturday. Yeah, well, Tyler didn't have a great day on Saturday. Only completely overplayed for mine on the rail and had a nice sprint. Broadsiding worked hard enough earlier to hit the front. She couldn't get past. Happy to take on Aliana. Well, it depends where she goes, incentivised. It depends where she goes. I get what you're saying. I agree. She's had a not complicated run in transit in the right part of the track. She got to the outside and savaged the line against a slow tempo. So she didn't have tempo in her favour. Horses up on speed here definitely didn't have favours. This horse definitely didn't have a favour. I just don't think there's a lot between the three of them. Plymouth was in the right spot, but just looks one-paced. If he said that, Vincent, he needs. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's got more tactical speed than what he is allowed to be used. Like, you look at this.
Rosehill Guineas over 2,000 metres, broadsiding out to 280 at the death in the rough and race.
He's clearly grabbing hold of the horse. Not so much that the horse can't go. They just ride this horse negatively every start. And the sort of way it ends up, he could have ended up 1-1. Instead, he ends up back here because these horses surge forward. So he had the speed to settle in the first 4 or 5 there, and he gets shuffled back to second last. It's not all the rider's fault. I'm not attacking him at all. It's just sort of the way the race pans out. They're going so slow. I don't think he's completely devoid of speed. He can definitely settle in the first half for Doncaster Field. Tyler needs things to go his way, and then when they do, he looks very good because he can ride. He's just Gold Rush hates Leo. It wasn't maybe it does, but it wasn't a good ride either. It went way too slow for mine. Way too slow. There's not a chance in the world. If he goes, he just not. It's just a ridiculous statement. Yeah. It's just a ridiculous statement to say that if he waited an extra 100 metres, it would have gone straight past him. It's insane. It's actually insane because that's when they picked the tempo up. So if he waited an extra 100 metres longer, he would have had to work significantly harder. Like that's not a bad ride. What can Tyler ride, Laney? Can he get that low? I think he's ridden 51.50. Maybe he can. He looks like a pretty little fella. Anyway, that race will feed some good races in the coming weeks, and there'll be some competitive horses in there. This race was quite weird. Watching it, I just assumed they were going a bit quicker than they could. I think the failure of the race was definitely Royal Patronage, even though it's only beaten 3/4 of a length. It just was gifted the race out in front. Tim was gone slow on it and then slowed down from the 8 to the 6, which I know wasn't a plan of his to do, and the horse just sort of couldn't pick up, and it's only finished as close as it did because of how soft the race was run and the position he was in. You know, he was basically home around the bend if he could do anything like what he did first up, and he couldn't reproduce it. Gringotts was in the position right behind him, was in the right place at the right time, sort of a bit of an act of God win, but it's a pretty honest horse. Fangirl was enormous, but the tempo wasn't fast. So the reason why she was able to get as close as she did is because they didn't extend that sprint out beyond 600 metres. So when she's in that spot, she's deadly, as everyone knows. Runs the second fastest last 6, 4 and 2 of the day. Fastest last 4 and 2 of the day from Tom Kitten from back in the field. So I think he's cherry ripe for a shot at the Doncaster. Tom Kitten, I think he's going to play a big part in it. Horses back in the field that went okay. Port Lockroy, and I thought Buckaroo was one of the runs of the day personally. Road Celestial Legend 49.5. There you go. There you go. It's 25 to 1, isn't it? It's a big price. It's not as if he's short in the markets with Falcon. 25 to 1's a big price. Let's watch this race. George Ryder.
Bit of movement wide out. They settle and they're off and racing here in the George Ryder, and Militarise was sharp into stride. Gringotts being sent forward together with Royal Patronage.
So yeah, everything went to sort of plan from what I thought it would do in the pre-race anyway. But the one that I thought was interesting, I thought, well, here we go. They've sent Militarise out to cart Fangirl into the race. J-Mac was always going to have a shot at trying to settle a little bit closer. But was he ever going to get in? I didn't think it was possible. For him to get any sort of cover was probably a bonus. Obviously, Militarise then rolls forward and settles outside leader. And funnily enough, that's what probably wins the race for Gringotts, because if Fangirl had that backside to follow it, you would say she probably would have got the job done. Buckaroo way back, he was really good. Tom Kitten was great. Our old mate Port Lockroy was good as well. As sort of said, disappointment of the race was probably the leader, and Sea Wolf was really good again. So, yeah, I think it was a great contest. It worked out basically exactly how everyone drew it up pre-race, I think. Maybe Fangirl settled a little bit closer. The tempo was a little bit slower. They didn't take off as early as I thought they would. but just a sort of a weight for age trot and canter.
7:50 to go. By length on Militarized.
Just going back, interested to see what you say. So yeah, not kicking up into this spot here is the thing. You're probably right, because it's not as if he's. I don't know. I don't know if he could have held that spot. Tommy did take his time to take the spot though, so probably could have by this stage.
Steffi Magnetica goes to an outright fourth now. Chaywolf, then Kovalik, Wellback, Buckaroo, and Celestial Legend. So Royal Patronage under a good grip. Gringotts presents in second. Then Militarized. Chaywolf going up the fence. Steffi Magnetica the outer. And two further back to Fangirl. In front.
So I was getting a bit excited here because I thought Royal Patronage would keep up its gallop and probably win. I thought the danger was the Chaywolf coming off the back, and I thought that Fangirl had to die on a run. He's not exactly horrible, Royal Patron. I'm probably being harsh on him. He'll probably go to a Doncaster and run well also. And he comes back after the line. So maybe they just went a bit slow on him. Look at him back through the line. He's not bad. So, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on him. I just want to go back and isolate. So this is Buckaroo and Tom Kitten back in the field. I thought their efforts were really good off a slow tempo. Not good. So this is a horse coming back off the goddamn Melbourne Cup. Trialled like a rocket. I think this horse is absolutely, completely and utterly airborne, Buckaroo. I don't know where it's going to go, but this horse can beat any horse. And Tom Kitten's airborne as well. So whilst everyone got wrapped up in Fangirl, including myself, I think these two horses were very, 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 very good. And it was fence in run, Buckaroo, but it wasn't from the bend and it wasn't from a long way out. So I think that was Gringotts' birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and everything rolled up into one. Do I think he'll run well in a race like the Doncaster? I don't know what weight he'll get, but he'll run well. I assume Chaywolf will run there. He'll run well. This horse will run well. Steffi Magnetic is probably going to be better again for the run. She'll run well. Does it scare me that a horse like Kovalik is finished up this close with sort of Port Lockroy Militarised? Probably yes, but I still think it's as good a class sort of handicap form as we've got. I don't think she was disappointing, Laney. I think second up 1,500 is a big task for her, even for a sit sprint. I was definitely not cheering for Chaywolf March. Definitely not cheering for Chaywolf. Yeah, I don't think she looks at her best either, Jay Collett. I don't think she does. Yeah, and she's just a tricky horse. I think she's a little bit of a hot horse. She's hard to catch. She's got a pretty ordinary win record. Moving out, Humphrey, I think its effort was very, very, very good first up. I've got no clue where it goes, and it's unfortunately one of those horses of what they call the old take turns horses in Waller's stable that usually comes up against 4 or 5 of their stable mates, so it's very difficult to line them up because they don't all usually have intent. Yeah, poor old Celestial's not going that well, which is a shame to see. He looks like he's lost his zest for racing, Celestial Legend, which is a shame. That's true too. And to be fair, I think that's more her go. The Brisbane Carnival's more her go, I think. Golden Shripper, within the law, does a little party trick and he goes through the running rail. I believe she's okay, and I believe Collett's okay, so no harm done there, hopefully. The race itself is run at a solid tempo, slightly above average tempo to the 800. They've maintained that to the 600. They're slow home, but not significantly, and the time overall's below par. So the race itself, I don't think's any sort of vintage Golden Slipper. I don't think these are the best 2-year-olds we've ever seen by any stretch of the imagination. But she's a real bulldog, this horse. I thought she paraded quite well. Going around to the gates, watching her stretch out, it was like, wow, okay, you've got to be with this horse. And You know, right place, right time, no doubt. Right place, right time, last out, no doubt. But this horse looks like it's got no idea what it's doing. It looks like it's literally a next prep horse. Like if you watched it in isolation, didn't know what races it were running in, you'd say this horse is continuing to get better, but nowhere near its bottom, and certainly just huge upside, you know, mentally, physically, in every way possible. So while she sort of wins this by act of God to a certain degree, maybe, you know, swap the runs with a few other runners. If she had a different gait, maybe she wouldn't have finished in that position. Yeah, they're all genuine arguments, but I think she's a very good horse in the making. Woderton did a great job to me, looked under pressure, and then the old Waller afterburners kicked in. Tempted, was it a certainty beat? I can't say it was a certainty beat. If it got a perfect run through and gaps open when she needed them, maybe she would have won. But I think it's only a maybe. Rivellino's paid for its lack of tactical speed. I think Devil Knight was really good. North England presented to win, and whether he's not up to it or whether that run behind is paid the price for him. Skyhook, I've got to watch a few of these runs again.
She's been very far in the yard here. Blake Shin just nudging away at her to keep her mind on the job. And she's
So Tempted jumped great. Woe didn't jump great. The winner jumped okay. Well, to be fair. This is Rivellino. So that's, I think, it's cost him the most, is being that little bit slow out.
jumped all right, Tempted. About midfield.
Skyhook rolls forward. North England didn't jump that great either, which has cost him.
Skyhook jump well, so did
Is that's Devil Knight there, isn't it? Military Gambler. This is Bella Zane. This is Far-Sighted, I'm assuming. This is King of Pop.
and Mahuna right there. Military Tycoon in the thick of the action as well. So Bellazane's working hard, trying to cross north.
So horses that are caught in no man's land. Military Gambler ends up slotting the 1-1 by act of God. King of Pop looks like it's the one horse that gets the terrible position, and so does Devil Knight. So just looking to hear, because I actually haven't watched this replay, the horses that are stuck in no man's quicksand land are definitely Devil Knight and King of Pop.
Back in the field, within the laws out of play. Tempted about midfield.
So Woderton ends up second, third, last, and there is a bit of a slowdown there, which has a bit of backwash, which is not ideal for horses that are looking to sort of improve into a race at the 600 metre mark, having a little backwash.
Woden's well back about third last, and then Rivellino. Bellazane leads around the corner. It's Bellazane in front by length on Far-Sighted. Then North England, Military Tycoon, Mahuna. Further back, King of Pop, Baywalk, Devil Knight, Wester Swindon down the outside. Bellazane is being tackled now.
So a good ride by Damien Lane.
Mahuna starting to slide through. Tempted getting close to heels. Woden making some ground. Mahuna got to the front. 100 out. Woden on the scene. Mahuna in front from Woden. Tempted is flashing home. Mahuna and Woden and Mahuna.
Geez, it was a run, Devil Knight, wasn't it? Holy shot. I haven't watched it, but it's wide for nearly the majority of the race. And off the bit on the bend, having its third start in a race, off the back of a Blue Diamond win at its second start. It's a horse, this horse. Holy crap, gets a bump there and a shove. This horse will make a very, very good horse next prep too if the penny drops with it Baywhack. It'll make a very good horse, this horse. And so will it, I think. Yeah, I'll give away. You can have Rivellino, and I'll have Devil Knight and Baywhack. Thank you. Look at the run of this horse. It's an absolute monster of a run, Baywhack. Monster of a run. Yeah, what do we do with these horses going? So this horse is going for a spell. I'm assuming this horse will go for a spell. Mahuna's going for a spell. I'm assuming Woden and I don't know whether Tempted pushes on. D-Lane is the most frustrating jockey in the world. I reckon D-Lane, there's no jockey in the world, because at his best he is a world-class jockey. There is no jockey in the world that has a bigger gap between his best and his worst than D-Lane. You see him ride like a 4-kilo claimer 30% of the time, and he rides like Kieran Fallon at other times. He's an absolute nightmare. Tempted to the Percy Sykes, Rivellino's size. Yeah, so, yep, Ghetto champion, Johnny, and the replays off the New South Wales Road. Basically, yeah, you can get them. You can get them there. You can get them off the tab site, mate. Yeah, interesting race. Again, we'll probably have to have another good look at it when size comes around to see who's going where. But I want to be in this horse's corner next prep, Devil Knight. I want to be in this horse's corner in a big way, Baywhack. And, West of Swindon was even a huge forgive run for sure. And so was King of Pop, to be honest. He was just in no man's land. I think he's a sit sprinter that can improve out of sight, back to... He'd be dangerous in a Percy Sykes, potentially, with the right draw. Yeah, I struggle to catch him. He rides horses... He falls asleep on horses so often. And then you watch him do the right thing and you go, oh, what the heck was that? Briasa. So I will be critical about. I will be critical about his ride, Schiller here, because he committed the cardinal sin of, if you're going to drag a horse back towards the fence to get on the rails on a rails day, in a race where you can't come wide and win, you must then ride for luck. He basically submitted. Take this the right way. It was a bit, to me, it was watching a race of someone who spat the dummy to a certain degree, took his medicine further than back, more aggressively than he had to, and then took his bat and ball and took it to the outside and ran on. And, I'm not saying he didn't try and win the race, but he knew he was setting the horse an impossible task. It felt like. And I think that's what he did. But anyway, tempo-wise, quite even to the 800. They speed up from the 8 to the 6 and then come home in even time. Time overall is pretty good. So the tempo's pretty even. The time's pretty good. They definitely put the sprint on nice and early, which made it harder for horses from back, really, to overcome it. So, Private Harry does a great job. I was against him leading into the day because I thought it was going to be a real high-pressure race. As the day went on, you sort of had to come back round to more neutral or in his corner because of the way the track was going to be. He and Front Page were always going to cross the horses inside and end up in good positions or, end up in relatively positive positions, whereas, horses like Jetta Dragon, so they were basically out of play. So even Eagle Knight, Eagle's Nest was hard to sit wide and run on. Poor old Commemorative just completely outpaced third up at this sort of trip, which was always a chance, but... and got held up, but he's a very, very good horse, this Private Harry. I don't know whether they should continue on with him to sort of races like the TJ, or they should just pack up stumps now. And I think he'd get a run in the Everest now if they put him away. So if he was mine, I'd nearly put him away and target that race myself. I just think he needs a break. But yeah, things went his way here. The two leaders taking each other on. Front Page getting worked over a bit by Eagle's Nest. And Harry just lands that absolutely beautiful spot. I was, very happy for Ash Morgan for sure. He didn't let the occasion get to him. Look, he looks cool on it. You can feel watching a race whether a rider's antsy, whether they're nervous, whether they're, working against the horse. And Ash definitely doesn't do that. So, full credit to him. I'm going to go back again because I should have talked about it earlier. So this is what I don't like. You saw what McDonald did on Fangirl. Completely different race, mile weight for age with not a lot of tempo. But, he could blend across here, sit 3 and 4 wide. And, he's not going to do much more damage than from where he is, Schiller. And instead he drags back and back and back and back. Okay, so you've done that. Now you have to ride for luck. You have to go under them. You cannot go around them. If you make that decision to ride a horse like that and get to the fence at the 600 metre mark, so it's taken you 500 metres to lose 10 lengths, you must ride for luck. And the difference is if they've gone fast and you are there because you can't keep up, then you're entitled to come around them because they've gone so fast in front that you don't want to take the risk of coming under horses and running up the back of horses that are already out of energy. So in a case where you drag a horse back, you're usually in a race where they're not going too fast because they're not running away from you. So they're not going to come back to you. So you can't chase twice, if that makes sense. I'm not saying he would have got the run or anything like that, but he had to ride it that way because he couldn't win the way the race was run and the way the track was doing what he did. The Commemorative's obviously very unlucky back in here. Harry's had his chance, every possible chance. And Brias is launching down the outside. Growing Empire was okay. Uncommon James okay. Is that Premier sprinting form? You've got the 8-year-old front page who's up there getting sort of taken on by Eagle's Nest, kicking on. There's Sarah Ryan looking like she wants to make love to Nathan Doyle. I don't know if they're in a relationship or not, but that's a very loving pose there. Yeah, there probably would have been a huge gap on the fence. Hey, Slope Hunter. Plus 8% return in Group 1s according to Racing and Sports. Private Harry, the most impressive 3-year-old. Oh, not even close. No. He's won that race well, but I don't think it's a vintage race. He's won a handicap. The race before that, he won a restricted race up in the Gold Coast. Very, very good effort to do it all in his first prep and the way it's come about, but he's definitely not the best 3-year-old, I don't think. In my opinion. I definitely haven't blocked you, boss. At this point, I realised Osmar would win. I wish you had told me, Verifier. I would have kept betting. At this point, I'm actually after the race. This is how greedy I am. I didn't realise that Osmar was $17, or I would have kept betting. I thought $13 was a huge price and thought it would firm into single figures 1,000,000%, and it certainly didn't. That race, yeah, they'll go to sort of race like the TJ and whatever. I think most of them won't measure up. Commemorative's interesting. It's definitely got another race in at this prep if they find the right one. Briasa certainly does. Yeah, they mentioned Doom 10,000. Doom 10,000 Stradbroke races like that will certainly suit Briasa. I don't know what they do with Private Harry. Birthday card stakes, and very, very, very appropriately named. Very, very, very appropriately named. Because this horse had its birthday, Christmas, and it was my birthday and Christmas for it to win the race. So God bless it. God bless them for letting it lead. They walked to the 800. It increased the tempo ever so slightly from the 8 to the 6. And it's come home slightly above average for a very poor time overall. It's probably arguably the worst race of the day. And the winners won in dominant fashion, had everything in its favour. It's never done anything at any stage. Run the 58th fastest last 200 of the day off the back of a slow tempo and won by a length and a quarter. So God bless her. God bless everyone for allowing it to win. No excuses for the horses chasing just behind it. The ones in the back might have an excuse or two, but this horse won by act of God, and God bless it.
The favourite outback misses jumped handily. Drifting on the improve together with Buller Win and
Paul, it was with it took convincing, let's put it that way, Paul. You take that how you will. But yeah, I thought, to be fair, I thought Rachel would try and kick up, and Rachel being slow out was the absolute blessing. That's what won Osmar the race. That Spring Lee was slow out, got the little squeeze there, and Karen was able to sort of pinch the brake. Drifting didn't show it as much speed as it was once in the time. You can see Rachel pumping the crap out of Spring Lee to get it forward. So yeah, the race was basically won by Spring Lee missing the start. So again, act of God, and we'll take it and run. Woolawin gets caught wide, no cover. I think JP gets held up behind miss Hellfire and is sort of forced off the fence, which is there's nowhere for JP to go. So he's unlucky. If he had stayed to the inside there, maybe he would have given the winner a big scare too. So again, further evidence that the winner's won by act of God. So if JP had stayed to the fence, or the fence had have opened up early, he probably would have run the winner down and won the winner down pretty easily. So yeah, I think a lot has gone the winner's way. Even Coco Jambu running up the backside of these horses down the outside here, its run first up was definitely, arguably better than the winner. I think the winner probably needs to, he's sort of saying, check the mantelpiece and make sure the cookies are eaten up because Christmas has come and gone. I don't think Outback Misses, I think that's what you see is what you get there. I don't think she's any star. Will win a bit of a forgin from outside, but I think I've got the feeling there was an issue with this horse. It's been scratched a few times and aimed up whatever races. Drifting's going terribly. Who was the other? Was Rose's Bloom or something? What happened to it? Got beaten 11 lengths. I'm assuming it pulled up with an issue. Didn't stretch out comfortably. Probably no abnormalities. So yeah. No good there. I did. G'day Tigger. Newgate horses no good. Agree. Macca is backer. Okay, Mac. God give you. Well, we've vowed never to bag him again. I don't know if you were here, but I think it was Mr. Virgin and myself have vowed never to bag him again. I thought this was interesting, and I did declare my undying love for Tommy Berry on Saturday, but. How does he hit Gringotts 8 times prior to the 100 in a Group 1, win by a nose, and it doesn't even, all he gets is, it doesn't even get a reprimand, just gets a mention in there. Like there's jockeys that have got $10,000, $20,000 fines in 2 weeks for the same, and the big fella here, he's in there 4 times, which is not unusual for anyone who looks at these. I know Paul's done the stats for me before, and he got about 200 mentions last year, but I thought it was interesting that he could hit a Group 1 winner 8 times and win by a nostril, and nothing came of it. But anyway, it is what it is. But that's the meeting. Yeah, I think I'd rather be negative towards Osmar going forward. She's an A-lister, was a pass mark, right place, right time, flashing light run. Everyone will see it. Coco Jambu was a good return for sure. The meeting overall will feed a lot of good races in the coming weeks, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun over the coming weeks. I think there's some good races to be that are coming around. I'll have a very quick look. There he is, Mr. Virgin. There he is. A really quick look because I am on Mr. Mum duty with the 2 lunatics this evening. At what's coming up this week because I actually don't know myself. Probably not today's racing, future racing. So what have we got? Australian Cup, Tancred, Vinery. Wow, there's a race. Roy Higgins won't even bother with that. World Pool Sprint Classic. This race is, Paul's actually sponsoring this race, the World Pool Sprint Classic. It's his race. Doncaster Prelude, Emancipation, Neville Selwood, who cares? Star Kingdom will be interesting. Tulloch will be interesting. Bally will be interesting. All right, let's look at these fields. He's another rider that gets it right more often than not when he leads on horses, Karen, but he just doesn't do it that often. Pride of Jenny in the Australian Cup. Middle Earth was very good the other day, but I thought that Duke de Sessa probably was a little bit unlucky. Why is Duke de Sessa not in the Australian Cup? Anyone know that? Why is Duke de Sessa not in this race? It looks like the perfect race for Duke de Sessa. A Tissue, no. Zardozi, no. Light Infantryman, Yeah. Wait and see there. Duke going to Sydney to the Tancred. Why would they not run it in this race? Let's have a look at the Tancred. Do by Honour, Vauban, Rapaho, Duke de Sessa. Wow. To be honest, I'd rather be running against Pride of Jenny, but okay. How far is the Tancred? 2,400? I think it is 2,400. Yeah, 2,400 Group 1, weight for age. Interesting. Well, that's the reason, obviously, why. The extra distance, but Yeah, I think he's going well enough to win an Australian Cup personally, but whatever. Don't know a few of these horses. Vauban 350. I don't think I'd want to be taking 350 about Vauban. I was much happy about $10 last time. I think the way that he plays up and gets excited, you got to be pretty trusting to want to chime into him. I don't think Lindemann will be racing in there. Desert Hero, Warmonger, oof. Le Creek, oof. Zaire. Yeah, maybe. I just I don't want to take short odds for Barn. 350 is not short odds, but it's pretty short. Pride of Jenny and Deny Knowledge, I think they have been. I think they did last prep. Pride of Jenny and whatever. I don't think there's much there to worry about. Fine round. Here's my girl. Treasure the moment. Well, this looks like where Moving Out's going. I thought it was good the other day, Moving Out. What was the other thing? This thing, Real Class. I thought it went okay. I think she's an absolute machine, this horse. I think she's a machine. $1.45, who cares? But yeah, I can't wait to watch a race. I wish she was coming up against sort of horses like Aliana and that already. I just can't wait to watch her race. I think she's bomb-proof. Yeah, $7.50 a place, a good price. It wasn't a bad run the other day. I think it'll be a decent price in this race, but you won't be getting $7.50 a place, that's for sure. Yeah, well, that's interesting. I hadn't looked at that. The weather report. Yeah, I think that's short for Verona Rose too. I agree. Rosehill. 70.5 mil on Saturday. Holy shitballs. Oh my God. That's short enough, March Hare. That's a big overreaction. Well, that just blows the whole bloody meeting up, doesn't it? That blows everything up. Duke Ducess is a mad wet tracker, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. Oh, will Zara will ride it if he's in Sydney, or is he staying in Melbourne for the Australia Cup? Wait for age. They'll have their pick of jockeys, basically. Well, bog track makes everything different. Peace in hell, I never want to see that horse's name again. Jesus, General Salute went like a motor car the other day. It'll be hard to beat in the Star Kingdom. They put up, what do they put up? $11 into weight. I don't think it wants a wet track though, General Salute. I think they were worried about it being wet the other day, so definitely be wary of it, because it wasn't wet the other day. Tulloch Stakes. Golden Century. Who's Golden Century? Is it a Kiwi horse or something? Tony Pike. Fetty Carl. Jesus, it must all be inputs. Format's the horse who's been running at the Bong Bong. Tsitsipas, he's just got knocked out of the Miami Open in the ATP. What the heck? I don't know these horses. Not even worth looking at. Ballieu. Nepotism second start in a race in the Ballieu on a wet track. Geez, this might be a race to go looking for something to beat it. Tupakara second up, very interesting. Savvy Halley, if it lobs there, very interesting. This is the race where you could definitely find an edge, I think. I want to spend some time on this. Because Nepotism second start in a race, even though it went like a rocket on debut, if it shows up here and the rain comes, you want to find something with a bit more guts to its form, I'd say. Does Vauban handle the wet? Duke Ducessor is like it just might be a moral if the rain comes. The old 75 mils. Holy shit. mind you, it'll probably be off if they cop 75 mils anyway. Where did it win at? I should know. I think I watched the race today. Four barn swims. Kembla led all the way, beat Finau, who's the Finau won at bloody Goulburn the start before. On by 4.5. Over 2,400. A benchmark 68 over 2,400. The start before that got beat by Finau at Goulburn. Oh my goodness. By Frankel. That's not the good horse. Nick Cheetah is. I think Nikita was the good horse. Yeah, it's St. Julian, 75 on that website. I like that website. YR.no. All right, I'm going to run. Thanks, guys. It's an interesting meeting. Thursday will be there. Yeah, poor old Top Sport. From the end of the week, Top Sport are no more. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind Glenn Pollitt to encore. I'll be retweeting it as soon as I finish here. Top Sport from the end of the week gone. So I don't know what that means for me, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, that like as in Tristan's told me no more. You know, Betar are doing their own thing, but I haven't spoken to them yet, so we'll see what happens. But definitely be here Thursday, definitely be here Saturday, and then we'll work it out from there. Cheers, guys. See you Thursday. Cheers, Spider. Have a good night, guys. Gonski, Top Sport. Gonski. But he's been very, very, very good to me, Paul. And he's a good man, Tristan. So I hope everything works out really well for him and his family. Cheers, guys.